Tonight on CTV News, bombshell charges.
This is an issue of utmost seriousness. As such, I immediately removed MLA Chan from the Conservative caucus.
Han Chan, a conservative Richmond MLA accused of domestic violence, is facing serious criminal charges. How he's responding.
I'm in jail. It's a detention facility. I've been unlawfully detained.
A Penticton woman and her 7-year-old daughter detained by ICE. A BC MLA is pushing Ottawa to help get them out. And a massive fire ripped through one of the oldest buildings in Vancouver. What it means for people who live and work in this Mount Pleasant heritage house.
This is CTV News with me, Jung Lee.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A conservative MLA is facing serious criminal charges tonight. Richmond Centre MLA Han Chan is accused of domestic violence following an incident more than 2 years ago. The news comes as a shock to the BC Conservative Party, which wasted no time in kicking him out of caucus. CTV's St. Alexander has a story.
Let's call it what it really is, a rush job.
Han Chan has been an MLA for more than 500 days. He's been a member of the BC Conservatives for a lot longer than that. But the party insists nobody knew he was facing allegations of domestic violence.
I've spoken with the previous leader. He was unaware. I've spoken with the party. They were unaware.
On Wednesday, the 38-year-old informed the interim leader that he'd been arrested and charged. Count 1, assault. Count 2, assault by choking or suffocating. Count 3, knowingly utter or convey threats to cause death or bodily harm. None of the allegations have been tested in court, but Chan was ordered to leave caucus immediately.
Anything regarding intimate partner violence cannot and should not ever be tolerated.
The court documents have been marked under what's known as a K file, which is used for cases involving intimate partner violence. They show the alleged offenses happened in January 2024.
He did not disclose to his leader, to the party, to the people of Richmond, and that is a very major violation of public trust.
A special prosecutor has been appointed, and in a statement posted to social media, Chan's office writes he disagrees with the allegation and looks forward to defending himself through the legal process. Chan has not been asked to resign.
I also want to say that I'm personally deeply disappointed that we did not see Conservative leader Trevor Halford call for the resignation of MLA Chan today.
Well, that's a decision he's going to have to make. The allegations are incredibly serious. They're very troubling. They're very disturbing.
Chan vows to cooperate fully with police and the courts, and again, the allegations against him have not been proven in court. First elected in October 2024, he remains a member of the legislature. St. Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
When it comes to the care of a rapidly growing seniors population, the province is moving backwards. That's according to the BC Seniors Advocate, who is worried about a support system falling further and further behind. CTV's Michelle Bernaro has more.
1 in 5 people living in BC right now is a senior. In the next decade, that will increase to 1 in 4. But who will care for them when they need it?
We're not even maintaining the same level of services. In fact, we're actually going backwards.
A new report finds an alarming jump in those waiting to get into long-term care, with more than 7,000 on the wait list last year.
As families are waiting for a space in long-term care, that can be a really challenging point in time. It can often push families to a breaking point.
The report, titled Monitoring Senior Services 2025, points out that the province is spending tens of millions more keeping seniors in hospital because of a lack of capacity in care facilities.
We see people accessing the emergency departments. We see them ending up in what's referred to as an alternate level of care space, which is really a fancy way of saying they're in the hospital when they don't necessarily need to be because they don't have a safe place to go.
Another issue raised is the growing wait lists for many surgeries. While waits for cataract surgery have fallen, knee replacement surgeries have risen 61%, hip replacements up 72%, and prostate surgery up 29% in the past 6 years.
Delays in surgery can have a disproportionate and serious effects on people aged 65 and older, including worsening health and disease progression.
Something else the report found is that the abuse of seniors and the crimes against them are on the rise.
Violent offences against seniors reported to the BC RCMP went up by 28%.
The seniors advocate is calling on the province to create an action-oriented plan to address the growing needs of seniors. In a statement, the health ministry said it's reviewing the findings, stating that over the past 5 years, government has spent about $3.5 billion in primary care, home health, long-term care, assisted living, and respite services. Michelle Bernoro, CTV News, Vancouver.
A call to revise old age security payments for high-income seniors has led to questions about whether it's even a possibility. CTV's Craig Krause looks into the political backlash if changes were to happen and how that could impact future generations.
A day after reporting a possible plan to reduce Canada's $78 billion deficit.
When OAS is just so much bigger than everything else, we have to go and then say maybe this is a place to find savings right now.
That idea is striking a chord with some Canadians. Many pointed out to CTV News there are already clawbacks in place for seniors who earned above $93,000 last year, and those benefits are fully clawed back at roughly $152,000 for those 65 to 74, or about $158,000 for seniors 75 and older.
We do benefit from OAS, but because we're subject to the recovery tax, we actually forego a certain amount of money every month.
Hundreds of dollars out of Colin Jeffrey's pocket.
How much are they already contributing or foregoing and saving the federal government?
Kershaw's plan would begin phasing out OAS at a household income of $100,000, although he points out a majority of Canadians support dropping the OAS threshold to $81,000. He estimates if benefits were reduced for seniors making more than that, it could save around $20 billion a year and help more seniors.
We would virtually eliminate their poverty. We haven't done that ever before. And we would be dramatically accelerating investments into affordability issues.
But changes to seniors' income is a sensitive topic. And one political analyst says Mark Carney's government could face backlash for touching OAS.
I think he's torn. I think as an economist, he understands the logic of reducing benefits to well-off seniors. But politically, it could be very damaging for him.
Still, with a ballooning deficit, Telford says economic growth alone may not be enough, leaving an uncertain future.
I'm sort of reasonably stable, but I feel sorry for the younger people for sure.
Are you worried about your future?
A little bit. I feel like, what if I can't buy a house when I'm older?
Whether it's changes to OAS or other measures, people are looking for answers, and fast. Craig Crow, CTV News, Vancouver.
A man killed in a shooting at a homeless encampment in Abbotsford has now been identified. The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team says 69-year-old Wayne Versfeld was shot Monday night at the Whitecaps Park and Ride. Investigators call it an isolated and targeted incident involving residents at the encampment. Police say they've identified persons of interest but are still working to locate them and determine their roles. The motive remains unclear, but IHIT says it does not appear to be linked to gang activity or extortions. A trailer caught fire this afternoon at that same park and ride, sending a plume of thick black smoke into the sky. Abbotsford police were already on scene investigating Monday's fatal shooting when the blaze broke out, and officers quickly began evacuating occupied trailers. No injuries have been reported, but police say the fire destroyed a trailer and commercial vehicle on site. There are serious questions tonight about the future of one of the oldest buildings in Vancouver. A massive fire ripped through a piece of Mount Pleasant history last night. The Dementia house is home to residents and businesses who are wondering if they can return. CTV's Ben Nesbitt reports.
The massive blaze visible from blocks away. Dozens of firefighters called to put it out.
It was discovered by the residents of the home, They made an attempt to put the fire out using a portable extinguisher and were unsuccessful.
That home, the Dementia house, a heritage building more than 130 years old, located on East 8th Avenue. The third floor is a single-family dwelling where 6 people were inside. They all made it out safely.
A bit shocking to see one of the oldest buildings in the neighborhood on fire.
Below the residence is a barbershop and a restaurant. It's believed they both avoided any major damage, but both will be closed for the time being.
The area is already struggling with all of this Broadway line construction, and 8th Avenue is now the diversion for the buses. So all of their parking and stopping and all of that stuff has been stripped. So this is just dogpiling on top of the difficulties that these places were already facing.
And for the people who lived there,
the people on the third floor of the structure won't be going back.
The fire department says the cause of the blaze remains under investigation. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News, Vancouver.
Hero.
An immigration nightmare for a Penticton mother and her 7-year-old daughter. They've been detained in an ICE facility for nearly 2 weeks. Her daughter has autism. Tanya Warner spoke with CTV today about the conditions they're facing and what's being done to get them out. But first, let's take a look outside from Grouse Mountain. It's 6:10 and it's a beautiful evening. The sun, you can see some blue sky.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was chilly.
It was
today.
very cold. Yeah, we were just around that freezing mark through the overnight hours. It was very unsettled this morning. We had rain, we had hail, but right now it's calmer. We're seeing mostly cloudy skies out there. Still on the cool side, 8 degrees at the harbor as well as in Burnaby. You're looking at 10 degrees in Surrey, Pitt Meadows, and Abbotsford, 11 degrees in Chilliwack right now. As we head through the overnight, we will see a few clouds. Still cold, 3 degrees overnight. Into tomorrow, we'll see mostly cloudy skies, a few sunny breaks in there, and a high of 11.
CTV Weather brought to you by Expedia Cruises, customizing dream vacations with unbelievable value. Call or learn more at expediacruises.ca.
And we finish off March on a dry spell, and then just in time for April, the showers roll back in. Those details coming up.
I can see why they say April showers, right?
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Ann. An international drug trafficking investigation has led to the seizure of more than 100 kilograms of meth hidden inside pickle jars. The shipment bound for Australia was found earlier this year in a container at a shipping facility in Tawasin. The investigation led to the execution of 2 search warrants at homes in Australia last week and the arrest of 2 men who were charged with drug offenses. On the same day, a foreign national was arrested in Kelowna. He has been referred to the Canada Border Services Agency for what police are calling appropriate immigration enforcement action. We have new details about a BC mother and daughter being held by U.S. immigration officials in Texas. Tanya Warner and her 7-year-old, who has autism, were placed into a controversial detention facility 13 days ago, despite having legal documents to be in the country. CTV's Abigail Beeman spoke with Tanya from the detention facility today and has the latest.
I'm in jail. It's a detention facility. I've been unlawfully detained.
7-year-old Ayla Lucas and her mother Tanya Warner were moved to a different Texas detention center known as Dilley. She tells CTV News in a phone call Ayla is very itchy from a large rash her mom believes is caused by stress and the commercial cleaner they're given to clean their ICE-provided clothing.
She's pretty stressed out. She's taking it really well. I would have to say she's my #1 hero.
The pair was detained at a border checkpoint on the way back to their home in Kingsville, Texas from a baby shower March 14th. Both Canadians working towards their green card. Tanya and her American husband Edward Warner maintain all their paperwork is valid. It has been an extra complicated immigration process due to his history as a registered sex offender from an incident in 1999 while a teenager. The Department of Homeland Security sent CTV News a statement saying in part, if you overstay your visa and are in the country illegally, you will be arrested. ICE does not separate families. Parents are asked if they want to be removed with their children, or ICE will place the children with a safe person the parent designates. Warner says she was never given a choice.
I think a lot of this is incredibly cynical and if not misleading.
Carrie Doyle was once ICE's principal legal advisor in Biden's administration, then an immigration judge fired by Trump's. She says the conditions at Dilley are concerning.
So certainly to arrest a young child who's also, I understand, has special needs, and her mother is just, to me, really bad use of resources and traumatizing this family needlessly.
And the government that's supposed to protect people tore her out of her environment and forced her into a processing facility and then into incarceration. This is going to be one of her core childhood memories.
The local congressman calls Tanya part of the fabric of Kingsville, while a BC MLA, where Tanya is originally from, has also taken up their case. Amelia Boultby says it's the talk of Penticton.
I'm in touch with various contacts at the federal government to see if we can find a legal or diplomatic avenue to either secure their release or speed up the process.
And I can assure you that we are in touch with the family and we are doing all we possibly can to advocate for the well-being of Canadians.
Meanwhile, Tanya tells us she has a bond hearing Tuesday and that legal costs are destroying her family. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
The BC SPCA says they will be recommending charges after rescuing 13 miniature dachshunds from a breeder in the interior. The neglected dogs, ranging from 12 weeks to 12 years old, were being kept in filthy cages at a property between 100 Mile House and Clearwater. Animal protection officers say there were heat issues and no running water, and that the dogs were suffering some of the worst dental disease they have ever seen. The pups are now receiving medical care and are not currently available for adoption. It could be a blow to reconciliation. 100 First Nations leaders are raising concerns about the NDP's plan to amend DRIPA. And a somber day for Air Canada staff. The bodies of the 2 pilots killed in the crash at LaGuardia are on their way back home. When CTV News at 6 continues. Stay with us. Remains of the 2 Air Canada pilots who were killed in Sunday's runway collision in New York are being brought home. Mourners gathered on the tarmac at Newark Liberty International Airport today for a dignified transfer back to Canada. Pilot Antoine Fauré and First Officer Mackenzie Gunther did not survive when their plane collided with a fire truck that was crossing the runway at LaGuardia Airport Sunday. A repatriation ceremony is being held at Montreal's Trudeau Airport tonight. Air crew and pilots lined up near Air Canada's headquarters there to pay tribute to their colleagues. More than 100 BC First Nations leaders are raising concerns tonight over possible amendments to BC's DRIPA legislation. As Dimitra Maragos reports, it comes after several were given a confidential letter outlining what the province is looking to change.
After 2 court decisions upheld First Nations rights under BC's Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, or DRIPA, Premier David Eby is weighing amendments that could weaken it. First Nations leaders are calling on him to leave the legislation intact.
I think to amend DRIPA at this point is really an offense to the relationship and how DRIPA was brought into effect in the first place.
The reaction comes after a confidential letter was sent to some BC First Nations leaders Monday, saying the government is looking to amend the bill. Those proposed amendments have not been made public. The Union of BC's Indian Chiefs released a joint statement outlining more than 100 First Nation leaders object as well. Monday's letter said the documents were subject to cabinet confidence and only shared with those who agreed to a confidentiality agreement for consultations. CTV News has not reviewed the documents.
I have seen the amendments as chief of my community, and I've had to sign a non-disclosure agreement in order to be able to see those amendments in full.
While she did not provide specifics,
the amendments that are being proposed to ensure that the courts do not have a role in holding the provincial government accountable to their commitments in the declaration.
Chief Thomas says she feels silenced.
Yeah, I feel muddled, for sure. I got to be really careful about what I say to make sure I'm not breaching any rules. That's not a good place to sit at, for sure.
CTV News reached out to Premier Eby. He was not available for comment. Attorney General Sharma did provide a statement which reads in part, reconciliation must be grounded in government-to-government relations between the provincial, federal, and First Nations governments. That's why we are moving to amend the Declaration Act to make this intent absolutely clear. The BC Conservative Party has its own concerns surrounding DRIPA.
I think there's still a way to achieve strong reconciliation in BC, but as we can see, DRIPA is simply not working.
But is also raising alarms about what they feel is a lack of transparency from the NDP government.
At a time when British Columbians are very anxious and nervous about what's happening with reconciliation, it's certainly not a time to keep them in the dark.
First Nations leaders have until Friday afternoon to submit feedback ahead of an April 1st meeting with the Premier, Attorney General, and the Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
We have to stay the course that we've set, and we have to continue to do the work together.
Demetria Marigo, CTV News, Vancouver.
What the Prime Minister is saying about efforts to get the Strait of Hormuz open again, but there is a big if. Also ahead.
NATO confirmed that Canada has achieved its 2% defense expenditure target.
The pricey target that took years to reach, how much this will cost Canadians, and why experts say it's still not enough to modernize our military. That's ahead. Spring has sprung across the Lower Mainland, and the final weekend of March brings plenty of things to see and do in Metro Vancouver. We've got a full list of fun things to check out on our website, ctvnewsvancouver.ca. For the first time since the Cold War, Canada has hit its target of spending 2% of gross domestic product on defense. The benchmark, which was set by NATO, amounts to more than $60 billion a year. CTV's Judy Trinh looks at how we reach this milestone.
After touring a warship, the Prime Minister announced that Canada had taken aim at a NATO target and hit its mark.
In 10 months, we have invested over $60 billion in our defense and security. And as a result of these efforts, this morning, NATO confirmed that Canada has achieved its 2% defense expenditure target.
Getting from 1% to 2% has taken 12 years. Progress has been slow until Carney's investment surge in 2025. For the first time, all 32 NATO members have reached the 2% target.
For too long, European allies and Canada were over-reliant on U.S. military might.
The 2% pledge was first made in 2014. Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper didn't want to do it.
I'm certainly not going to spend on a massive military expansion just for the sake of doing so.
Under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Canada was called out on the international stage.
Talk about riding on America's coattails. They have the safety and security of being on our border.
Movement didn't happen until the biggest player in the alliance uttered threats.
And they said, if you don't pay your bills, we're not going to participate, we're not going to protect you.
Canada may have spent more than $60 billion on defense in 2025, but the military is still short about 15,000 soldiers, and from jets to ships to submarines, half of the equipment isn't working.
We are still waiting for new submarines. We are still waiting for new tanks and other armored vehicles for our Army. And we are still a long way from having new warships.
The overall readiness, the ability of the military to actually conduct a military operation or go to war is at a multi-generational low point right now.
Going forward, Canada and other NATO members are committing to spending 5% of GDP on defense by 2035. For Canada, that means spending $150 billion annually. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada could play a role in helping ships move freely through the Strait of Hormuz if there is a ceasefire in the Middle East. Prime Minister Carney says there are ongoing conversations with some NATO allies about Canada joining an effort to restore the movement of vessels. Iran blockaded the crucial waterway in retaliation for U.S. and Israeli attacks. Last week, Ottawa expressed a willingness to contribute to reopening the strait. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has extended his deadline for Tehran to open the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. president says he will now wait 10 days until April 6th before destroying Iranian energy plants. Trump insists ceasefire talks are going very well, and the request to extend the date came from the Iranians. Hope that a landmark case against big tech will be a turning point for the industry. The companies will be held accountable for rewiring children's brains. Also ahead.
You just can't prepare for what it really feels like to live and work in microgravity.
A direct line to space. We talked to Canadian astronaut Jessica Meir on the International Space Station, and she tells us her biggest surprise. That's next.
Time now for tonight's Skywatch. The CTV drone flying high above Burnaby's Capitol Hill with the towers of Brentwood and Metrotown in the distance under a bright blue sky.
CTV Skywatch is brought to you by Kermac Collision and Autoglass, the name you'll remember when it matters. Kermac cares for kids.
Japan is preparing for the worst just in case Mount Fuji erupts, which could severely disrupt life across Tokyo. While there are no imminent signs of eruption, multiple agencies gathered to discuss potential worst-case scenarios. Government projections warn a large-scale eruption could drop 30 centimeters of ash, with up to 4 centimeters piling up in the heart of Tokyo, home to around 37 million people. Officials agreed to fast-track security measures and designate emergency sites. Some telescope teamwork has created the most detailed view of Saturn to date. Newly released images from NASA highlight features of Saturn's busy atmosphere. They were captured in 2024 by the James Webb and Hubble Space telescopes, with each one telling a different part of the gas giant's story. While the Webb image shows clouds and chemicals at various depths in the atmosphere, the Hubble view reveals subtle color variations across the planet. Some UBC students had to look up more than 400 kilometers today to get advice from one of the school's alumni. Jessica Meir is a NASA astronaut who is currently living on the International Space Station. She studied zoology at UBC from 2009 to 2012 and is now the spacecraft commander for NASA's SpaceX Crew 12 mission. Students got the chance to ask her some questions over Zoom, like what she did not expect of her time in space.
The thing that you can't prepare for, we train so much, like I mentioned, for these really technical tests, but you just can't prepare for what it really feels like to live and work in microgravity and what it feels like as a human to experience looking at the Earth from above.
This is Meir's second time on the ISS after participating in the first all-female spacewalk in 2019. The top trigger of seasonal allergies recently triggered a 911 call in the States. A homeowner reported smoke in some trees in a local state park, raising the alarm of a possible grass fire. Officials confirmed no controlled fires were taking place in the park before firefighters rushed to the scene. But upon arrival, they realized there was no threat except for locals in the area with allergies. Turns out what looked like smoke was actually the result of cedar trees releasing clouds of pollen.
Wow.
That's incredible. That's a lot of pollen. Yes. So that it can be visible like that. I don't know. Do you have allergies?
I do not. I'm very lucky, knock on wood. Hope I don't develop any.
And one good thing about Vancouver's weather, the rain can dampen the pollen and make it better for people, right?
Yeah, but some people I've heard right now, it's pretty bad for them. My friend's dealing with itchy eyes and sneezing. So if you are dealing with it, apologies. But beautiful out there to enjoy the beautiful conditions and all the flowers that's making all the pollen and trees. Today, we saw mostly cloudy skies with a high of 10.4, slightly below the seasonal average of 11 degrees. The overnight low at 0.3. And so far, we've seen a 125.6 100.4 millimeters rain, above the seasonal average of 104.1. So ridge of high pressure will continue to keep things nice and dry for us as we head into the next few days. We had that front move its way through, bringing in unsettled conditions earlier on today. Right now, we're seeing mostly cloudy skies across the lower mainland. That's what we can expect heading into tomorrow morning for your early morning commute, continuing through the afternoon. A few breaks here and there, but it'll stay cloudy as we head into tomorrow night as well. Lots of sunshine in store for the southern interior. Your provincial forecast at the bottom of your screen. Cloudy with showers tomorrow for Port Hardy, 6 degrees. You'll see overcast skies, and 9 degrees for Campbell River and Comox. For the South Island, periods of rain for Tofino, 9 degrees. You'll see cloudy conditions for Port Alberni with a few breaks, and 10 degrees for Nanaimo. Southern Gulf Islands and Victoria, highs to 11 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. For the Sunshine Coast, not a lot of sunshine, overcast skies, and 9. You'll see breaks of blue up the Sea to Sky Highway, Squamish 9 degrees, 4 degrees for Whistler, and for us across the lower mainland, mostly cloudy skies, a few sunny breaks with temperatures between 9 and 12 degrees. Heading into Saturday, we'll see a few breaks and 10, cooling down and cloudier on Sunday with a high of 8. A mix of sun and cloud expected for Monday and Tuesday as we finish off March, and just in time to start off April. Rain returns on Wednesday, 9 degrees. It continues into Thursday with a few showers and a few sunny breaks in there with a high of 9 as well. CTV weather brought to you by Expedia Cruises for air, land, and sea vacations. So not a bad ending to March, but yeah, just right on time. Rain returns for April.
But you know, this morning it was so cold.
So cold.
I actually still wore gloves this morning because it was chilly.
And a parka and a toque too.
No, I passed on that, but the gloves, I kind of needed those.
It was very chilly.
All right, thanks, Anne. Vancouver's Cherry Blossom Festival is about to kick off. What's in store for this year as we celebrate this sign of spring? Also ahead.
I think it's going to be a wake-up call for tech companies.
A landmark victory over big tech is giving hope this will push companies to change how they do business and stop getting children hooked. That's ahead. Taking a look at today's markets, the Canadian dollar traded for 72 cents to the American dollar. Oil up $4.16, closing the day at $94.48. Gold lost at $176 even on the day. The TSX and the Dow Jones both plummeted, ending the day down 495 and 469 points respectively. We have a recall to tell you about involving milk that may contain pieces of glass. The recall covers some milk products sold under the Farmers Naturel and Cabone brands. These are 2-liter cartons on shelves across the country. The list of affected products is on the Canadian Food Inspection Agency website. The CFIA says it's investigating, and more products could be added to the recall. This week's landmark social media addiction trial in California is set to unleash a flood of lawsuits aimed at big tech. A jury found Meta and YouTube purposely designed their products to hook young users and awarded millions in damages to the 20-year-old plaintiff. CTV's Heather Wright has more on what's being described as a wake-up call for the industry.
A damning verdict with global implications. A Los Angeles jury ruling Wednesday that 2 of the world's most popular apps, Instagram and YouTube, are deliberately addictive, designed to hook young users and keep them scrolling. Experts are calling it a big tobacco moment for big tech.
The cigarette companies, it came out, targeted young people, knowing that that's how they got their lifetime customers. And virtually the identical documents have emerged from social media companies. They target adolescents because they know that their brains aren't fully developed.
Both Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, as well as YouTube, have been ordered to pay $6 million US to the victim in this case, who says the platforms left her with body dysmorphia, depression, and suicidal thoughts. The companies plan to appeal, but the ruling is giving hope to those who have been pushing for change in how these companies operate.
We've been talking about for years the idea that consequences eventually catch up with everyone.
Frances Haugen is a former product manager at Facebook who blew the whistle on the company, saying it chooses profit over safety. With hundreds of similar cases working through the courts, Haugen says tech companies could ultimately be on the hook for billions of dollars.
I think it's going to be a wake-up call for tech companies that they need to think about their internal governance processes and make sure that they have the checks and balances in place, that they don't just go for the quick buck.
Among the lawsuits filed against tech companies is one here in Ontario, where several school boards have sued Meta, Snap, and TikTok, accusing the apps of being psychologically manipulative. While the U.S. verdict will not impact any litigation here, it is a sign, experts say, that the conversation is changing. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Travelers expect long lines at the airport, but the longest this week was made of cheesesteaks in Philadelphia. Of course, we'll give you a taste of the new Guinness World Record just ahead, plus Mario's memories. Adam finds out how a man with a debilitating diagnosis discovered a benevolent purpose. Next on the Sawatsky Sign-Off. Right now, here's a preview of your morning, Vancouver.
Well, voting is now open to choose a new federal NDP leader. Will it make a difference? Friday on Your Morning Vancouver, the challenges the party is facing with a slate of leadership candidates few people recognize.
Well, let's go by you, man. Faster. That's what I'm doing my best.
We'll check in with Dan Petronovich as he tries out tough jobs on the new show, Blue Collar. We'll see you in the morning.
We can expect great things from you.
The first trailer is out for the new Harry Potter series. It tells the story of Harry Potter from the beginning with a brand new cast that includes 3 newcomers as the main characters: Harry, Ron, and Hermione, as well as heavyweights like Nick Frost as Hagrid and John Lithgow as Dumbledore. The show will hit Crave later this year. Crave and CTV News are both divisions of Bell Media. Paul McCartney has a new single out called Days We Left Behind, and a new album is also on the way, his first in 6 years.
Looking back at white and black, reminders of my past.
Variety reports it's a look back at the former Beatles' childhood in Liverpool, England. The Boys of Dungeon Lane will be released on May 29th. With the future of the Vancouver Whitecaps big question mark, there are growing calls to make sure Major League Soccer stays here. Even a former player is stepping up as goalkeeper David Osted has launched a petition to save the team. Sports writer Rob Williams says a new owner with deep pockets is badly needed.
I saw David tagged Ryan Reynolds on Instagram, so I don't know if Ryan Reynolds wants to get in on it. But you know, that's the type of thing that could potentially get the ball rolling here. But ultimately, you need a billionaire that likely has ties to Vancouver and likely has an interest in soccer.
Williams says another hurdle is the team needs a new stadium. The petition launched by Osted was launched earlier this week and has more than 3,000 signatures so far. Play ball. The 2026 Major League Baseball season is officially underway. The Blue Jays will open their 50th season tomorrow night in Toronto with a game against the Athletics. As part of the pregame festivities, the Blue Jays will raise their American League Championship banner. Expectations are high for the Jays after they came within a hair's breadth of winning last fall's World Series. But the team says that heartbreaking Game 7 loss won't define them.
How we handled ourselves, how we played, and what that does for us going forward. That should be the definition of what we take out of 2025.
Now we know we can kind of match up with any team, and but that also kind of puts a bullseye on our backs.
Kevin Gausman will take the mound for his first opening day start since joining the Jays in 2021. Following Bo Bichette's departure to the Mets, the acquisition of Japan's Kazuma Okamoto, and 3 players on the injury list, the Jays' starting rotation is sure to be tested right away.
3-2. Polanco sends it into right and will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Meanwhile, the Mariners, who went on to lose in 7 games to the Blue Jays in the ALCS last fall, start their season at home tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. The Mariners are the favorites to win the AL West again this year. Game time is just after 7. Monster Jam is back in Vancouver with 4 action-packed events happening over the weekend. Organizers are getting the Pacific Coliseum ready ahead of the first show tomorrow night. The stadium is being packed with up to 80 dump trucks worth of dirt. The event is billed as family-friendly, wholesome entertainment starring trucks like Gravedigger, El Toro Loco, and Spark Smash, plus even bigger personalities. For more than a century, cherry blossoms have been a sure sign of spring around Metro Vancouver and the envy of the rest of the country. The flowering trees are now in full bloom just in time for the Vancouver Cherry Blossom Festival. The annual event, now in its 20th year, kicks off tomorrow in David Lamb Park, where the trees will be illuminated for Blossoms After Dark.
People can expect to see performances on stages, roving performers, food trucks, art-making activities. We even have a pet parade on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m.
A full lineup of festival events are planned over the next 3 weeks, including a Blossom Run, Haiku Contest, and the Sakura Days Japan Fair. Oh, I haven't seen the Blossoms After Dark. Have you guys checked that out?
Went last year. Very fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, so much to do, and just I can't get enough of those cherry blossoms, right?
I have seen everybody out there taking photos underneath them already. But
there's some nice nice ones on Burrard Street too.
And lots of station.
Okay, well, as long lines continue to plague major U.S. airports, one in Philadelphia just set a new world record. This delicious display of 1,291 sandwiches set the Guinness World Record for the longest line of cheesesteaks. They were lined up inside a departure hall in Philadelphia's airport to mark National Cheesesteak Day. The display beat the previous record of 500 sandwiches. Once the new record was certified, the cheesesteaks were handed out to travelers and airport staff who have been working without pay during the government shutdown. Okay,
Well
that's a lot of cheesesteak.
Looks delicious.
Yeah, there's so many random Guinness records out there. Just pick a topic and then create the record, right?
Sure.
Okay, we'll get to the Sawatsky sign-off in a moment. First, Lauren, what's coming up tonight?
Mijang, we have a positive news update tonight from the family of Tumbler Ridge shooting victim Maya Gabala, who is still in ICU at Children's Hospital. After putting her name up in the UFC ring as a tribute, UFC President Dana White is now offering Maya a huge helping hand. Ahead at 11:30, how White is offering to pay the way for some specialized medical care, according to her mother. And the good news on Maya's progress here at home as she, of course, continues her fight for recovery.
Yeah, she's a tough girl. She's made a lot of progress. So that's good to hear.
Certainly is.
Well, a walking stick and a permanent marker are tools one Vancouver man uses daily. They help him get from one volunteer gig to another as he turns his focus away from a grim prognosis and towards his purpose. Adam explains in tonight's Sawatsky sign-off.
If you ask Mario Gregorio the story behind his walking stick,
this is a bamboo and this is the roots.
He'll tell you how his nephew carved it for him and how it's proven to be a great conversation starter.
And then sometimes they say, Mario, you talk too much. I don't care.
But Mario says he does care deeply about the schedule on his hand.
Because I used to write it in a piece of paper and then I forget that I have it in my pocket. So it becomes useless.
You see, Mario was diagnosed with dementia in his mid-50s, was forced to quit his job, and left feeling like a jug of milk with a looming best before date.
They say 7 to 12 years after that, either you're dead or you go to a long-term care home.
Mario cried countless tears before considering a singular solution.
There might be something I can do while I'm still alive, kind of thing.
So Mario started volunteering and found that the more he helped others, the more his mental health improved.
I think people should understand that they need to have a purpose.
And now, 18 years after being diagnosed, Mario volunteers at 20 organizations, from universities doing dementia research to community groups making meals for folks who are unhoused.
When people talk to me, I tell them volunteering makes me cry.
Because in community kitchens, he'll tell them he's always happy to do what nobody else wants to.
Who wants to do onions? And then everybody would yell, Mario will do it.
Because no matter what makes Mario start crying, he'll always end up smiling.
We always smile no matter what.
And no matter where, he travels with his bamboo cane and back-of-hand calendar. Mario never forgets to be grateful.
At the end of the day, I have a sense of being thankful to make life of other people a little better.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Vancouver.
Oh, look at that smile. Some people just exude positive energy, and it's kind of infectious.
Yeah, he needs to set a masterclass for that for everybody. All right, let's take a look at our scenic snapshot for tonight. Ominous clouds and breaks of blue sky above Lafarge Lake in Coquitlam. Thanks, David, for sending this one in. And we want to see your scenic snapshot, so email us at scenicsnapshot@ctv.ca.
Ooh, yeah, that is very moody photo.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah. All right, thanks for joining us. Lauren's back tonight at 11:30.